the and the working environment, zone 1 and zone 2. So we talk about different we said that we analyze these factors to prepare a strategy to implement the change. Right. So in that case, we studied about strategies and selecting a proper strategy for implementing the change. The next step is to implement the change through project working, which means we want to implement a change as a project. So in this chapter, we will discuss about it, like why implementing a change as a project. And then we'll talk about the difference between a project and a process. We need to understand the process, what is a process and what is a project. We'll talk about the project life cycle. What are the stages in a project life cycle? And we go through this. And we talk about project management and project manager in brief. So these are the main important topics in this chapter number 3. So to start with, in this chapter, we show how to use project working tools and techniques to implement change in the workplace in a systematic and in an effective way. Okay, this is why a project, a change to be implemented as a project, because as a project, we can do that change or implement the change in a systematic and in an effective way. So when we do a project, it will be in a systematic way, right? That's why we go for this. So projects can be of different type. For example, split and order is a very small kind of project, introduce Windows 7, or plan for an Olympic Games in a country, or for example, let's say planning for a football World Cup in a country like we have in KSA, upcoming football World Cup. So for that case, we do take it as a project and we implement what are the things we need to do, what are the events, what are the actions we need to do as a project, right? So one key feature of modern business is the nature of opportunities and threats posed by the external events. And we saw this like through steeper analysis, we understand the external events, how they are gonna affect the businesses, right? Companies and all. Companies, for example, face international competitions. Externally, must modify, introduce product constantly. That companies keep on updating and introduce new products constantly to be in the international market or to be in the national market. And they must respond to customers as fast as possible and maintain competitive cost and operating levels. These are the features like that creates an opportunities for any organization to be effective or to be workable inside a market. Effective project managers are indispensable commodity for a successful organization. So project managers are very important person inside the organization for the successful of organizations. So managers are going to handle the project management and they are going to work in a different field. So project management is not only in a particular field, but it can be in an external construction field, manufacturing field, healthcare, finance, public software, hardware development. Almost every field will have the project managers where there are projects, right? So in any organization, when there is a project or the organization want to bring some changes through projects or implement a change as a project, there is a person called project manager who oversee everything and who is gonna responsible for the whole work to be done. Now let us understand the difference between a project and a process. Right, most of the time we'll consider a project and a process as same, but they are not same. Right. So a process basically refer to an ongoing day-to-day activities in an organization. Like what is going on every day is a process inside an organization. If you see a sales in a supermarket is a day-to-day process, right? The developing activities, right, is a day-to-day process, right? Or doing activities, sorry, is a day-to-day process, right? So a process is a ongoing day-to-day activity in any organization. The process uses existing systems, what is available, properties and capabilities in a continuous and fairly repetitive manner. That is a process. It uses existing system. It does not develop any new system. A process never develops a new system, right? So it is using existing system and properties and capabilities in a continuous and repetitive manner because it is doing the same thing repetitively again and again. Okay, fine. So then what is a project? So project can be defined as a temporary endeavor or a work undertaken to create a unique product or service. That is, creating a product, creating a new process, creating a new service is a project. Fine. Whereas in a process, it is using the existing system. It is the same thing, repeating again and again, okay, on a day-to-day basis. That is a process. But in a project, it is some temporary work for a 6-month work or a 1-year work taken to create something new or some new products or new services or new application or new system. Right. That is a project. So the project is defined in this T227 book as a project is a temporary endeavor, which is like a work involving a connected sequence of activities and a range of resources. So it means that a project will have a set of activities. Like this can be a project A, and this project A will have many different activities. For example, if it is a software project, there is an analysis, there is a design, there is a coding process, there is a testing process, there is an maintenance process, right? So it has many different activities. And these are the sequence of activities, sequence activities. It means first I do analysis, next I do design, system design, next I do coding, next, I do testing. I cannot do testing before coding, right? Then next, I do maintenance. So it is a sequence of activities, okay? And a range of resources. It involves resources, of course, like human resource, non-human resource, computers, and everything, right? It involves resources, which is designed to achieve a specific outcome, which operates within time, cost, and quality. So these are process designed to, or these are sequence of activities designed to achieve some outcome, some product, some application, some system, which operates within time, cost, and quality constraints. So these whole project operates within some time. For example, in 6 months, we complete this project under the cost of $1,000. Okay. And the quality is that we achieve so many uh, aims or so many objectives, which is often used to introduce change. That is, the whole project is a new thing. Okay, bringing a new thing or bringing a new change, right? So this is the definition of a project, a proper definition of the project, right? Okay, fine. Now let us see some differences between a project and a process. So here it's given project versus process. A process is a day-to-day activities to produce goods or services, or using existing system properties and capabilities. It is typically repetitive, has several objectives. People are homogeneous, like same people will repeat the same thing. Okay. Performance cost and time is known for this process. Like we know that every day it takes so many, it does so many of tasks in this cost and in this time. We can do this much of sales, for example, and system in place to integrate the effort. System already exists, so we are using existing system. This is a process. Whereas a project takes outside the normal process oriented work. So it is something new, right? We are creating something new. So a new team is formed to do that work. So it is outside the normal work. A unique separate from the routine process driven work, continually evolving. It means every time it is improving and updating one objective to produce some product or some application or some system. More heterogeneous, different type of people will work in the project. Like for analysis might be a different team, for designing a different team, for testing a different team, for coding a different team, right? Performance cost and time less certain. System must be created to integrate the efforts. So this is the difference between a process and a project. So having understood that project and a process, we'll move with the project, fine. So the summary of this project definition is a project can be considered as any series of activities and tasks that have specific objectives to be completed within certain specification. So it means that a project is a series of activities that has some objectives, some specific objectives to be completed. I repeat, some specific objectives to be completed. It has a start and end dates, like the project will start in so and so date, will end in so and so date. It has some funding limits. We fund it, for example, $1,000 to $1,000. It uses human and non-human resources. People work on it. Machines are used, computers are used, laptops are used, and malfunctional focus. Right. This is a summary of the project definition. Now, projects are the way the strategic objectives are achieved. Through the project, all the objectives are achieved to develop some application or some product. They can cover many different type of activities, such as investigate a specific problem, research new product or service, implement, and so on. So this means the activity depends on what type of project, what project you are doing. Okay. Project can be carried out entirely in-house by the organization own staff. It means to do. That is an external project using external organizations for the development. Or a mix of the above. Or a mix of the above. It means it can be many, if the project is very big, there can be many different organizations working together. Okay, for example, hosting Olympic Games. Okay, it's a very big project. So here many different organizations will work to achieve their objectives. Or for example, developing a software or an application is again a project. And here a set of people will work for analysis, for designing, for implementation and all. Okay. Fine. So one organization people are working. That is a different thing. Okay. So a project can be carried out by a single organization, or it can be given outside the organization, or many different organizations can work together to achieve the project objectives. Now, talking about the project duration and budget, it can vary enormously depending on the type of project you are doing. For example, if you are to develop a small application, how much cost you need, right? You have programming, right? You have analysis, so you need to pay for analysis. You need to pay for designing. You need to pay for coding, you need to pay for testing, and you need to pay for maintenance. How much you will pay depending on what is the size of the project. Let's say, for example, you may pay $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000, right? Depending on how big your project is, right? So a small project will have a small budget and a small duration. For example, 1 month and $1,000. Okay, like you want to rebuild your office, right? Decorate your office, decorate your home, or you want to develop a software or an application. It depends, like it takes small amount of time and it takes small amount of money or budget, right? On the other hand, if you consider big projects like hosting Olympic Games, hosting football games, this takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money. So that's take a lot of money, right? For example, hosting football game takes a lot of money, infrastructure, it takes a lot of time, right? But at the same time, it also brings many opportunities, like there will be employment opportunities, change in the infrastructure, will be upgrading the transport infrastructure, for example, right? Change in the public attitudes, change in culture, okay? Many opportunities it will create. So the big project creates a big opportunities, and it takes time, and it takes budget or cost. A small projects, small opportunities, a small time, a small cost. Okay, so it depends. The duration and the budget of the project basically depends on type of project. Okay, that is the case here. Okay. Now the next is project assessment and evaluation. All projects must be evaluated against the three criteria. All the projects must be evaluated against three criteria, which is time, cost, and quality. Fine. Time, cost, and quality. That every project must be under the given time, under the given cost, the budget, and must achieve the objectives or functionalities. Right. So there will be differences in a way the projects are organized and implemented depending on the context in which the project is carried out. Fine. The next is project management. While project management is embraced by so many organizations, successful project management is so difficult. So we have to understand the project and do the project management. Fine. Many companies encounter deep-rooted resistance to the kind of change needed to accommodate a project philosophy. Like any other valuable activities, project management requires preparation, knowledge, training, and commitment to the basic principles. So project management is not an easy job, right? It needs preparations, it needs knowledge, it needs training and commitment. Okay, the next is why projects are important. The reason why project management be crucial is helping an organization to achieve its strategic goal, because through the project, it is helping to achieve some strategic goals of the project, right? So the project management is very important, fine. If it is a good project management, it will shorten the product life cycles, narrow product launch windows, increasing the complex and technical products, emerging global markets, and economic period marked by low inflations. Okay, the next is project life cycle. So here we see the stages of project life cycle. Basically, a project life cycle has 4 stages. Okay, we'll add another stage here, which is monitoring and review as the 5th stage. The basic 4 stages include initiation and definition, that is initializing the project, starting the project planning and project organizations, implementing the project. Implementation can be in different phases. So it is given here phase 1, phase 2, up to phase N. Then closure and evaluation of the project. Now, during implementation, we must have the monitoring and review of the every phase done or every phase work. So that's why here another stage is added. The basic 4 stages are 1, initiation and definition, the 2, planning and project organization, 3, implementing the plan, and the 4th, closure and evaluation. So 5th can be added as monitoring and review. Okay. Fine. So the project lifecycle is important because they demonstrate the logic that governs a project, like how the project will go on, is given through can be seen through the project lifecycle. Project lifecycle help us decide when we should devote resources to the project, like what resources is needed in which stage. Right. It also help us our plans for carrying out the project and help us to evaluate the project progress. Okay, now how does these the resources can be used in different stages? At initial stage, the initiation and definition, we may not need much of the resources, right? So we may need only project managers and team leaders uh, to sit together and to start the project, right? During the planning, we may need more people, more resources, right? It takes some time again. During implementation, we need a lot of teams working in the project. So we need more people. It takes more time. It takes more cost, of course, during execution and implementation phase. Now, at the end, at the closure and evaluation, again, the resources are reduced. We don't need everyone who work in the implementation to be in the closure. We see the managers, team leaders, okay, closing team working in the project, fine, and evaluation and testing team working in the project. So it reduces again the manpower, the resources, and the time as well as the budget. So this graph shows us like the resources, how the resources and budget and cost can utilize during different stages of the project. The more it is the resources are utilized is during execution and implementation, right? The less it is utilized is during initiation and definition phase. Okay. So at the initiation and definition phase, the development of initial goals, technical specifications, the scope of work is determined, necessary resources like how many people we need, what is the cost we need, which physical plants and resources we need. These are identified, and important organizational contributors or stakeholders are signed on. Stakeholders like, for example, investors, right? They are all signed on the project when we start the project, right? At this time, we analyze everything. We do analyze and prepare everything at the initiation and definition. The next, planning and organization. All the detailed specifications, schedule, schematics or diagrams, and plans are developed in this stage. Work packages are breakdown, which is, we can say, work breakdown structures are developed. Individual assignments are made and the process of completion clearly defined. So we can define clearly when the project will be complete, when the every task will gonna complete. So we can prepare everything during the planning and organization stage. We can prepare for a budget, okay, plan for budget, plan for time, resources, allocation of resources, activities to be done, tasks to be completed. Everything will be clear in the planning and organization stage. The next stage is execution and implementation. So here the actual work of the project is performed. The systems are developed or the product is created and fabricated. The bulk of the project team labor is performed. It means most of the people will work here in execution and implementation phase. Project costs ramp up rapidly. Project cost is utilized here during this stage, as we saw in the previous figure. So during the implementation phase, execution and implementation phase, most of the people of the project will work, and it takes some time. And of course, here largely. Only closed out. So finally, the closure and evaluation stage, project is transferred to the customer. It means we release the project to the customer. Resources are reassigned. All the resources like teams into another project, right? Will be released. External contracts will be closed, right? And project is formally closed out. We finish the complete. We complete the project. So these are the 4 stages in definition. Second stage is planning. Okay. Third stage is execution and implementation. And the fourth stage is closure and evaluation. These are the 4 stages of the project. So project lifecycle summary is shown here. This is what we discussed just now. Now we missed this monitoring and review. Monitoring and review is that checking progress against agreed schedule and cost. Like what has been done here in the implementation phase, we need to analyze, we need to check it whether it is going on time, on budget, right? If it is not going on time and on budget, we need to make some adjustments, right? We need to we might need to have meetings, sit together, analyze it and see what is happening, why the cost is going up, why the time is taking long, right? So we need to do brainstorming here. So to do this all, we need a monitoring and review team. We need to review everything, the activities, what is going on, the resources that are utilized, the money that is utilized, everything need to be reviewed and during the implementation phase. So it is checking against the schedule and the cost. That is the project monitoring and review process. Okay. As you can see, 5 components of project may change over the course of its life cycle. So here we are listing 5 components that can change while we are doing the project. And it is very important to hold these 5 points, during the development of the project. This is during the development of the project. Okay. When the project is started and it is working, fine. When the project work is going on, right? At that point, the first thing is client interest, right? The client interest is very important. Like in between, for example, client says, no, I'm not interested in the project. Then your project will fail. Okay, you got to stop the project, fine. And the whole thing is disturbed now. So it is very important to hold the client interest, the level of enthusiasm or concern by the project, intended customers, and clients can either be internal or external customer, no problem. But we must hold the client interest to the project. Right. Number 2, project stake. That the people who are interested in the project, like investors, we must hold the investors also. Right. We must involve them in meetings. We must hold them. Right. That is a project stake. Number 3, resources, like commitment of financial, human, and technical resources over the life cycle of the project. Number 4, creativity, the degree of innovation required by the project. This is also very important. Uncertainty, like the last one, the degree of risk associated with the project. So we also need to analyze the risks and reduce the risk So riskiness reflects the number of unknowns, including technical challenges. It is the highest at the beginning. So riskiness or risk is need to be analyzed and reduce the risk, because high risk will force you to stop the project. Okay, so that is uncertainty. So these are 5 points that can change over the course of project life cycle, and it must be hold. Okay, it must be given a care. It must hold during the working of the project. Otherwise, there is a chance of failing in the project. Now let us look at every stage here in detail. We'll start with project initiation and definition. And in chapter number 4, we'll be doing the next stage. So to start here with project initiation and definition, project initiation definition is critical as many projects fail because they are not properly thought through from the start. It is the start where you have to study the project carefully and set the objectives of the project. In case like if you're missing some objectives, in case like if you're missing something, and the next step or during the working of the project or during implementation, you find that you miss something, that there is a chance that the project will fail, right? So to carefully study, a careful study of the project must be done during the initiation phase, during the initiation and definition phase. Okay. Project initiation definition is critical, as we said. It is very important, like we carefully study the project. The next here is, beside being initiated as a result of organizational strategic program change, a project may be initiated for a number of other reasons. It's not only a strategic change, can be other reasons that why we need to start with the project. For example, a request from a potential customer to provide a new service or product. It means the request is coming from the customer to have a new product or a new customer. Like you are getting a request that you need you are getting a request as an organization, you get a request to develop some application. So that is a project. You take that as a project and you develop some application and you give to the customer. Of course, going through all the project life cycle. Okay. Also, a customer complaint about poor delivery times. This also need to revise the whole process and then develop a new system for delivery to improve the delivery times. And internal proposal of new product or service. An agreed view of there must be a better way of doing something, again, can be taken as a project. So from a small to large projects, right? It can come from any place or any other resource. Large capital projects are often preceded by extensive feasibility and scoping study. Right? For the large projects, we need to do some study. Is very important. طيب, a key outcome of initiation and definition is a terms of reference document, TOR, which is a project brief, terms of reference document. So what does this document will have? The purpose of this document is to define the scope of the work and the range of activities to be carried out. So it means this terms of reference document will have the project the project objectives, the scope of work to be done, and the range of activities that will be carried out during the project. Okay. It also includes the project sponsors, the project customers, what are the objectives, scope, and the budget of the project, kind of deliverables expected from the project, and different activities, different phases of the project, and milestones or key points that project is looking to achieve. So all the details, that means you can see that TOR will have all the details of the project from the beginning to the last, right? So it will include every detail of the project. So at the project initiation and definition, at the end of project initiation and definition phase, we must have a terms of reference document that include all the details of the project, like who are the sponsors, who are the customers, what are the objectives of the project, what is the scope of the project, what is the budget of the project, what we are expecting from the project, what are the deliverables, what are the phases in the projects, what are the key milestones or key points in the project that we want to achieve, right? So that is there in the terms of reference document, and the TOR is the document that is generated at the project initiation and definition, right? Okay, the next point here is it is important to note that during the stage that follow project planning and organization, further information may be added to terms of reference, but any changes must be accepted by the stakeholders, right? So it is not that you have TOR after initiation and definition and you cannot change that TOR. No. At the next stage, in the planning stage, you see something new, something updated can be added in the terms of reference document, but it must be agreed by all the stakeholders, the investors, the customer, the developers. Okay. So that is, this means that TOR can be updated. Right? Okay, that is the first stage. Initiation and definition, and the outcome of initiation and definition is terms of reference document that holds all the details of the. The next stage is project planning and organization. Careful planning is crucial. We understand that planning must be done, okay, very carefully. It must take into account the views and requirements of all the project holders during the planning. The focus on clarification of all project details so the formal plan can be prepared. So must have all the clarifications of the project, and we must focus on them, that everything is clear so that we can have a formal project. Okay, what does these planning and organizing address is that what task and activities will be carried out to meet the project objective. It must show what are the task and objective, what resources will be required. Okay, just a second, I'll be back. responsible or who are responsible for these to carry out these tasks and activities. What resources are required, like offices, we need physical resources, non-physical resources that we need to carry out these tasks, human, non-human resources and everything. And in what order these activities will be carried out, to what timetable, like in which order activities are carried out. For example, we have 10 activities. So in which order they will go? Can they go parallel together? Is there activities that can go parallel? Are there activities that has to go in sequence? Okay. Which activity to be done before which activity? These things are looked in planning. And what are the potential risks involved in carrying out various project activities and how they can be managed? Because risk analysis is also important. So every activity, every task may have some risk. So we need to analyze that and see the risk analysis and how we can manage those risks. Okay, it is important to note that the project proceeds, changes may be needed, so that new opportunities can be exploited. So these changes must be agreed again by the stakeholders and it must be recorded in the TOR, terms of reference document. After planning stage, it is implementation stage. At this stage, all the work will come up to create the project as a reality. Right. So at this stage, all the tasks or the resources or the people are utilizing the resources and developing the project task or completing the task and bringing the whole project as a reality. For example, you're developing the application or you're developing a system or you're developing or you're completing the project. Okay, so here also during implementation, we also see the risk analysis, right? So at the planning stage, we need to do all the risk analysis, right? To reduce the effect in the implementation stage. If we don't do the risk analysis in the planning stage, that will affect in the implementation stage. So it is very important that the risk analysis to be done in the planning stage so that we reduce its effect in the implementation stage. So by this stage, the assembled project team should implement the whole project activities and find solution to problems as they come up. So here all the activities must be carried out. Now during implementation, as we said, monitoring and review is very important. We do careful monitoring of the project work to see that everything is going on time and on budget. All the objectives are achieved on time and on budget. And progress must be continuously checked against the key dates and milestones being identified in the project plan. Plan is re-reviewed and on a regular basis to deal with any changes, any problems, and changes may require to the plan as a result of these reviews. Sometimes that we may need to make some changes in the plans, not big changes, or small changes in the plans after the reviewing the work that is going on. For example, let's say that we have 3 activities. Activity 1 has a time period of 1 week with a cost of $1,000. Activity 2 has a time period of 2 weeks with a cost of $1,000. Activity 3 has a time period of 1 week with a cost of $1,000. So in this time, let's say activity 1 has a time of 1 week, but it is taking more time. So we may need some small change in the plan, right? So that is what the small changes may be required after the review. So monitoring and review during implementation is very important to check that everything is going fine, the objectives are achieved on time, on budget, and there is no slipping of time or slipping of budget in the during the implementation. Okay. At the final stage, we do project closure and evaluation. That is, at this stage, here comes the end of the project. Okay, here all the project deliverables are formally signed off and the teams are disbanded. We release all the teams. Okay. The project is evaluated in terms of experience gained, what experience we gained from the project, what lessons we learned from the project, the success and failure along the way, the successful project, what makes the project successful, or if it is a failed project, what are the things or the points that leads to failure of the project, the overall outcome of the project, and likely future impact of the project. This is all recorded in project closure and evaluation stage, which is the last stage of the project. Lesson learned from the project is added to the organization corporate learning and be a valuable resource for future project work. Like what we learn, the lessons while doing the project is a valuable thing, right? And it is added to the organization's learning time or learning plan. And this is used for the next project, right? That we learn these lessons from it. We have so much of this what we experienced in our previous project, and how we can utilize this to do the project more effectively in the upcoming projects. Right. Okay. Fine. The next is determinants of project success. Like by what we can say that the project is a successful project. Right. So any definition of project success must take into consideration the elements that define very nature of the project. What are these elements? These are the time, budget, and performance, or you can say the quality, right? And the fourth is client acceptance. Project should come in on or before its established schedule. This is the first constraint in the project. For any successful project, the project must come within the time. Let's say, for example, we said the project will take 6 months. It must come within 6 months. Okay. This is the first criteria to be a successful project. Number 2, the budget. The project must meet budgeted allowances in order to use resource effectively as possible. This is the second constraint. The project utilize the budget, what is been allocated, and it comes within that budget. Okay, it's not going above the budget. Fine, in any case. So the project that comes within the budget is a successful project. So any project that comes within time, within budget, is considered as a successful project. Okay. And the third criteria to be a successful is the quality check to determine if the finished project operates according to the specification and client expectation. That is what is said. What are the objectives? Okay. Those are achieved. Okay. And it is working. The project is working fine. Then we say that yes, it is a successful project. So 3 criteria we have seen: time, project should be on time, project should be on budget, and the performance of the project, right? We must achieve the performance of the project, or we must achieve all the objectives and functionalities in the project. That is the third. And the last thing is that the client acceptance. That is, the project is acceptable to the customer to whom we develop this project, right? If the customer says, no, I don't want the project, then what you will do with that project? It is of the customer, right? So client acceptance is very important, and this is the fourth constraint again, right? So these are the 4 different points, like 4 constraints that we set for any successful project. So if you want to say that a project is successful, check these 4 constraints. The project is on time, project is on budget, the performance of the project, and the client acceptance of the project. Then we say it is a successful project. So for that, we put a small graph here, or you can say a map here. The quadruple constraints of the project is the budget, schedule, performance, and client acceptance. If you are meeting all these 4, that is the success of the project. Like we're meeting all these 4 constraints. Okay. Okay. Fine. An additional approach to the project assessment is whether a product can generate future opportunities, be it commercial or technical, for the organization. So the successful of the project we see in 4 constraints, right? The next is, what is the future opportunities of this project? Like the project generates future opportunities. or not. So 4 dimensions are given here for a successful project. Is that project efficiency, meeting the budget and the schedule expectation, that a project is within the time and schedule, creates future opportunities for the organization to develop more projects. Impact on customer, meeting technical specification, addressing customer needs, creating needs. So how satisfied the customer is. If the customer is very much satisfied, the customer will be okay. So preparing for the future, whether determining whether market, new product lines, or help to develop new technologies, that is also for the future, right? So these are 4 relevant dimensions of success project. That is project efficiency, that the project is being done within the budget and within the cost and within the time plan. The customers are happy with the projects, like they got what they want. Okay, they are satisfied. The business is booming after the project being developed, and it also helped to develop new technologies, right? So this is also 4 dimensions of successful project. Now we said that project management is very important, and the person who does this is a project manager, and it has responsibilities, a great responsibilities, right? So we will discuss this in detail in the upcoming chapters, but we'll just have an overview here. Is that a project manager is responsible for selecting teams to do the activities what we set in the planning, right? Develop project objectives and plan for execution. Performing risk management activities, that is analyzing the risk, right? And how to reduce the risk and all. Cost estimating and budgeting, that is he will analyze the cost of the project. Scheduling, he will prepare the time plans and all. Managing the resources, so resource management is also done by the project manager. So these are some points or some tasks or responsibilities of a project manager under project management. Okay, so finally, you can see here, what you can see here is the overview of project management knowledge areas from the book of project management of knowledge. Okay, so this is just for a reference, okay, for you to see different type of project management like time management, scope management, quality management, cost management, right? These are all comes under the project manager. Right? And this is only for your reference. Okay, and this will not be assessed in your assessment, right? So this is all what you have here for you in this chapter number 3. Hope everything is clear.